At the end of the pattern cutting process, we should have these key pieces. So you'll have your sleeves as this nice semicircle, you'll have two of them, and you'll have your front and back piece of your dress. The front piece will have the split cutting tip, which will be as high as you like it. If you'd like it a little bit more of a modest one, cut it lower down. We can change that as we're sewing. So this is your four pieces, and you'll also have this pre-overlocked part from your pack, which is your neckline that you're going to sew to your garment. And now we're ready to start making. We're ready to start our garment manufacture process. The first thing we're going to be doing is pinning our pieces together. We start making this garment by putting the shoulder seams together, and one of the most important things is to make sure you're working with the right side of your fabric. If you have a look, you'll see that there is two differences to this fabric. So there's a slight colour difference, but the biggest way you'll be able to tell if it's the front or the back is through the feeling. So one side feels much softer than the other side. So you're wanting to pin both correct sides together, so that's the right sides of the fabric. So the sides that will be both the outside edges are going to be pinned. We're going to start pinning our garment together now. So I have the shoulder seam and shoulder seam right on the edge, and we're going to take our pins and we're just going to pop them up the way like this, because by pinning up the way means you're able to sew with your needle over the pins and the pins can remain in place. It just makes it nice and secure. This is a slidey fabric, so make sure you are weighing it down somehow. I'm just using my hand for that, and we're going to work along the edge with these pins. I would say you're wanting to use 4 or 5 pins in this to keep it all nicely in place. So pop your pin in and through the other side of your fabric with the needle heads up this way. Put my last pin in here, and you're going to have that nice pinned together piece. It should be sitting quite flush and it's ready to go through the sewing machine. We're now going to start sewing our shoulder seams together. As you know from your pattern, it had a 1 centimetre seam allowance, so you're wanting to line your fabric up to the number 10 on your sewing machine plate. We're going to pop that down, and we're going to do a forward stitch followed by a short reverse stitch just to secure that in place. There we go, and we're just going to sew all the way to the end, removing your pins as you get to them. Now that we're at the end of the fabric, we're going to do stitch to the end and do a back stitch to secure that in place again. And now we've got our shoulder seams. Now we're going through our sleeve insertion. Some people might find this a little bit tricky, so I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this. As you know, our sleeve is a semicircle. We're going to find the centre of our sleeve just by folding the piece in half, like so. So you want it properly folded with the same amount of fabric on either side, and that's how we know where the centre of our sleeve is. This seam is now going to go onto the centre seam of your garment, the centre shoulder seam, and we're going to pop a pin in place. So we ease the sleeve in for this, so we're only using 3 pins to pop and secure the sleeve in place, and then we're going to ease it in on the sewing machine. Make sure again that you've got your correct piece of your fabric facing the correct piece of your dress for your sleeve. You can tell by the feeling more than how it visually looks. So we're going to take the edge of the sleeve to the very edge of your garment, pop a pin in place, and we're going to do the same for the other side. Don't worry, this is going to get kind of jumbled as you're going. It makes so much more sense when we start sewing it in. Okay, so this is what we should have. You can see it's starting to come together. The semicircle fits nicely into the sleeve head. I'm going to start sewing the sleeve in now. So we're going to start from the underarm seam and we're going to work our way around. So as I said, we've only got 3 pins in place, so you're sewing and you're holding your fabric as you go, easing it in. You're just working your way all the way around the outside seam, making sure you've got the bottom of your fabric and the top of your fabric holding it in place to ease the sleeve in as you work your way around. You want to make sure that none of your fabric underneath catches or is jumbled up when you're sewing this, so it's always good to just have a little pause and put your hand underneath to make sure that you're not catching any other parts of your garment. And that's us now over the centre seam of the sleeve and working our way to the end. We've now inserted our sleeve. As you can see, it's this nice semicircle batwing shape, and you might be wondering, how does this actually come together on your garment? I'm just going to hold it up and show this. So now you can see your garment comes together. We've got our neckline and we've got our sleeve. We just need to sew down our side seams, and that is the body of our garment taking shape. We're now ready to do our side seams, which will finish the body of our garment. So we're going to hold the fabric from the underarm seams, which are the bottom of your sleeves, fold this together, and we are now going to pin from the underarm seam down to the very bottom of your fabric where your hem will be. Again, we're going to pin with the pin heads facing up the way. So we're going to secure this with your first pin right on this underarm seam. We want to make sure your seams match up, and then we're just going to pop these pins all the way down. You'll need a good few pins for this, so get the pin box ready. And it just secures your fabric in place for sewing your side seams.